Welcome to Season 3 of the M-W Tactical Podcast. Sit back and enjoy the conversations with the mad scientist and myself as we discuss the sport of shooting, goals, training, and everyday life. You are listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast. All right, good people. We're back at it again. Another installation of the M-W Tactical Podcast. And this week's show is sponsored by Soltech, a company that does custom kydex work for your handguns, your magazine pouches, knife sheaths, anything you need custom with kydex, look up Soltech. Now, we also want to remind everybody that the South Carolina sectional is taking place April 30th through May 2nd at Belton, South Carolina. Registration is open now. You can find this on Practice Score. Just look up South Carolina sectional and you'll see it. Sign up, come on out, have some fun with us. April 30th through May 2nd, and let the fun begin. Like we said, registration is open. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring in my buddy, the man with the plan, fast on the trigger, custom gun builder, machinist.
Keep going, I like it.
Yeah, he's probably a cook, a mechanic, maintenance provider. But without further ado, my main man.
I gave up on the lawn maintenance.
The mad scientist himself, Dave. Hold on, Dave.
Hey, Mike. I appreciate the intro. They keep getting longer.
Hey, man, you know what I'm saying? Hey, when you got a title like yours, hey, that's all they're going to do.
Sometimes I don't want people to know everything that I can do. Then they want to start asking for help.
Yeah, trust me, I know how that. So, like, actually, when I moved here to South Carolina, my whole game plan was not to let anybody know what I was capable of doing, just so when they see me, it's just, hey. But then, of course, you know, after a while, the neighbors start really getting to know you. Like, hey, can you come over and help with, you know, X, Y, Z? So,
well, it's okay. I mean, we love to help, but just sometimes
it's annoying at times.
You have to be able to say no, which I've learned finally, which it was a difficult thing for me because I want to help anybody I can, but sometimes it just gets to be too much.
It can be at times.
I have to say no sometimes.
Especially when somebody's taking advantage of the situation. So I can definitely understand how that can go at times.
Well, I appreciate the intro.
Yeah, no problem. So speaking of the intro, let's take it back to last week before we go into this next topic I want to get to. You actually listened to the conversation between Travis and myself, and what did you think of that overall conversation?
It meant a lot to me. At the end of the interview you were doing, Travis, you and yourself started saying such great things about me. I listened to it on my lunch break today at work, and I played it like 2 or 3 times just because the comments were great. I mean, they were brief but it meant a lot to me, coming from you guys, coming from Travis, who's a national and world champion shooter, you know, saying how he thinks I'm a great shooter, and it's just the great things that he was saying about me and the stuff you were saying about me. Very thankful for it, and it's humbling, I guess, man. I don't know. I appreciate it very much, and it motivates me. It makes me feel good about what I'm doing, and motivates me to keep pushing and keep going after more.
Yeah, so you got to give credit where credit is due. So I don't think you give yourself enough credit where it's deserving, because it was just like, when was that one time? It was either this year or last year, whatever match you was at, you had a bad stage and then you left the match and still came in third place or something like that.
Oh, that was early in the year, the Florida Swamp Challenge or something like that, like in January or something.
Yeah, I was talking to Coach B about that, and I even told her, like, I don't think he realizes how good he really is because he doesn't look at it from that perspective. But when you just don't do one stage and you still come in third place, how much of a lead did you have, first of all? And because it was still like some well-rounded shooters there.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. So the second to last stage, I had a squib on.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty sure I zeroed that stage. I may have had like a 1% hit factor or something. It was pretty close to zero, if it was anything. And then for some reason, the way the squatting was going, our match flow just kind of sucked toward the end there, and we were on the last stage, waiting on like 2 squads ahead of us. And I'm 6 hours away from home. I had just zeroed the previous stage. I was like, man, there's no point in me even staying here. I'm gonna leave now and get a head start going home. Get
Yeah.
home a little earlier.
Yeah. Well, like I said, when I looked at that and after you had told me that, I was like, wow, that's still remarkable to me.
I didn't expect it at all. That's why I left. I was like, there's no point in me even staying here.
Well, obviously, you didn't realize how much of a lead you really had.
No, I don't ever look at scores and stuff because it's fun, to win matches and stuff, but that's not really why I shoot. Competing with myself and want to, I don't know, just perform, the way that I've been practicing and training, and I won't perform to my current skill level. It's what I try to do. And when I don't perform to my current ability, I get kind of down on myself about it. But
Yeah, I can understand
know.
that one, how that one can go. Well, outside of that, I do want to say thank you for your contribution to the sport and keep pushing yourself because, like I said, you are better than what I think you are. Even though you don't look at it like that, but just like you, for me to do competition shooting, the battle is within myself. So it's one of those type measures when you look at certain things, and then of course, we pick and tease at each other, like when we do the competitions and everything.
Yeah,
But
sure.
it's just to push
Well,
yourself.
that's part of it.
Yeah, but I also want to give thanks to the people listening in the following areas. We have listeners in Canada, Ireland, the United Kingdom, Australia, Kuwait, Germany, Norway,
Wow.
Puerto Rico, Bahrain, New Zealand, Belgium, Finland, and Singapore.
My goodness.
So like the word is out there about the M-W Tactical Podcast, and I do want to say thank you to the people who listen to us in the various locations outside of the United States, but most importantly, thank you to everyone who actually listens to us within the United States as well.
So, oh my gosh, that means so much too. A lot of those countries you just mentioned have super strict gun regulations.
Yes. Yes.
And these people are listening to our podcast talking about shooting. It's, oh man, that's fantastic. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know what's going on in your countries. I haven't been there, but
Well, maybe we could do a world tour one day. Actually do a show in every one of those different locations.
they don't allow guns there. We can't go there.
I mean, we can go there with the microphone and the recording. Like I said, just do a podcast there and actually talk about various different things around shooting and our perspective of being in another country and comparing it face to face versus what we read about.
Well, that would be interesting. It would definitely be interesting to check that out.
Yeah, I think it would be pretty interesting. So outside of that, we also got to prepare for the Florida State or the Florida section that's coming up this weekend because obviously we record the show a week behind. So we're going to be shooting the Florida section Saturday, but by the time this comes out, we'll already be back home to listen to the show, so we can get everybody's perspective in the comments.
Yeah, so this is a fun match. It used to be for the last 3 or 4 years, it was the Florida what was it? FIPT, Florida Invitational, FIPT? Yeah, Florida Invitational Pistol Tournament, I think, which I think it was something that started in the 80s in the area, and it kind of went away. And Manny and Gorka at what Extreme GM picked it back up a few years ago, and it was always like a crazy like circus match kind of thing, if you know what I mean by that. Like some of these weird stages with like roller coaster things that you sit in and shoot from moving platforms, and just weird crazy stuff that I normally don't like to see in major matches. But this one, I knew that's what I was going into, and I loved finishing my year with this match because it's a level 2 match, but it really doesn't mean anything. Like, it's not a section championship, or previously it was not a section or state championship. It didn't, if you won or lost, it didn't matter. It was just fun. It was a lot of crazy props and just a lot of fun, just like-minded people getting together, having a great time shooting. But it started losing some interest, I think, over the last year or so, because it was so like kind of circus oriented. That's just a term that I've heard people say before when it comes to like crazy stages and stuff. And the turnout started getting less and less. And I think this year they've kind of, lessened some of the circus prop kind of thing, and took on the section championship is what they call it now. So it's more standard stages, nothing super crazy as far as props go. I will miss the roller coaster. That was one of my favorites.
Well, when I was looking at the diagrams of the stages, nothing seemed too crazy. Everything was pretty much start anywhere you want to start, coming out the holster.
Yeah.
And the only thing weird that I remember is one or two stages by the diagram had a long shot to the target to activate the swinger. But it was the same thing that we saw at nationals this year. Off
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
diagram from what I've seen. So, and the diagram, what you see on the diagram, and once you get there in person, it's two totally different
Yeah, they're never the same, but
platforms. Yeah.
you at least get some kind of idea what to expect. But
Yeah. So I'm
so
actually looking forward to it. I was on Facebook earlier today, and of course, when I looked at it earlier today, they had stage one set up, and looking at stage one in the picture I seen compared to what they had in the matchbook, it the matchbook made it look like it was more spread apart, more running than it really is compared to the real life picture. So
I believe most of the bays they have there are smaller than what we saw at Universal Shooting Academy.
right.
So they shouldn't be too terribly spread out with a lot of running.
Well, I mean, I don't mind the running. I think that's what kind of makes the match. It's a good balance, if you ask me, because just standing there taking 2 or 3 steps and continue to shoot, that can be fun, depending on the stage layout. But
Oh, sure. Okay, yeah.
I find more enjoyment off of literally running from one point to the next point and still shooting in the process.
Yeah, there needs to be a balance. I do want to share the roller coaster stage from 2017 at this match if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Because let me find it real quick. I got it. Let me see. This is that's not it. This was first time I shot this match. I was shooting carry optics.
Right.
And here it is. Yeah. All right. So this is I've never done anything like this. And this is one of the things that I really liked about it. Let me see if I can share the video. So you're gonna let me do it.
It won't do it again.
I think it will.
There you go. Yeah,
You got a screen share?
yes, sir. It's
So
showing.
this track here, if you can see it for our YouTube guys, there's a roller coaster track, and then the way it works, you get into this cart, and you have a RO in the cart with you, and there's barely enough room for both of you. But
Oh man.
when you checked in registration, you had to stand on a scale and weigh yourself, and they recorded your weight. And when you got to the stage, they would apply extra like steel weights to make the overall weight the same for every competitor, so it would move, approximately about the same speed.
Gotcha.
Because you had a lot of disappearing targets. You started all the way up front, and I'll get it going here. This was my view, like doing my walk. This is the walkthrough. Like you didn't get a chance to actually walk through it beforehand. They wouldn't let you do it. But you got in the cart all the way at the end, and then they pushed you up toward the front, and then you could look at targets as you're walking up. And I'm looking at stuff here, and there's
somebody's pushing the cart right now.
Yeah, we're going up, and you're going to lock it in place right here, and there's the RO, and there's Manny down there. He's locking the thing in place, and yeah, there's the whole section right there, and with the whole track, and all these targets are disappearing. So when you hear the buzzer, you activate, or you release that cart that you're standing in with like a little lever. You hit the lever, and then you draw your gun, or whatever, however you want to manage the release of it, and then you start shooting. Oh, there's a plate rack right there, so I engaged that first before I released the lever and actually started moving. And then you're just swinging back and forth, doing all these transitions, trying to hit all these targets before they disappear.
Oh wow.
Well, here's the plate rack. Then you hit the lever, and then the roller coaster starts going. I did a reload. I'm trying to...
Oh, so it's going backwards from what you...
Yep, and then it's speeding up the whole time.
And how fast did it take to reset that stage?
It was it was just interesting. It was just something that you don't get to do that stuff very often.
Yeah, looks different but fun at the same time, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a quick commercial break and come on back, and let's talk a little bit about nutrition, fitness, and the journal we talked about last week. And let's get some perspective on that. All right. So please stay in your seats, and here are a few words from our sponsors.
Hey, this is Brian Conley at Hunters HD Gold. If you've never tried Hunters HD Gold, then I challenge you to find me at a match next year. Go to the website under scheduled events, find out where I'm going to be. Come meet me in person and demo a pair for yourself. Find out why shooters across the United States are changing to Hunters HD Gold to get 43% more light to their eyes, better contrast, eyes that are not fatigued at the end of the day based on the colors that we use, and find out the real meaning of why they change so you don't have to. So check us out on our website, huntershdgold.com, and I look forward to seeing you at the range soon.
JM4 Tactical has developed a state-of-the-art polymer holster that will quickly become your go-to holster. With high-quality Herman oak leather securely sewn to the interior of the molded outer bolt-on shell, your draw becomes silent and no more scratches up and down your firearm. When seconds count, you can rest assured that you will have the upper hand when you need it most. Whether you carry open or concealed, the Relic holster is available in 4 different models, fitting over hundreds of different style guns. The new reliable, easy, light, individual carry holster by JM4 Tactical. Order your Relic today at jm4tactical.com.
Are you in the market to purchase your first or next firearm, but find the atmosphere of a gun store intimidating, crowded, or uninviting? There's a way for you to purchase the gun you want while avoiding the crowds, the gruff salesmen, and the marked up prices that come with a brick and mortar gun store. The process is called a transfer, where the purchase is made at an online store and sent to a federally licensed middleman called an FFL, who processes the paperwork and background check for a firearm purchase. CAE Transfers is the FFL with the lowest transfer cost in the Midlands at only $20 or $15 with the presentation of a South Carolina concealed weapons permit and $10 for repeat customers. If you live in Columbia, South Carolina or its surrounding areas, choose CAE Transfers as your FFL during checkout and let me help you complete your online gun purchase. You can find and follow CAE Transfers online at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using @CAE Transfers. Thank you for your business, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, good people. We're back at it again. And we just got finished talking about an interesting stage that Dave did last year, or not too long ago in Florida, where he was on a roller coaster and shooting. So, did anybody ever think about the perspective of the weight distribution? Because it had to have been the same RO unless they weighed two different ROs to compensate for that weight. But at the same time, did anybody make the argument, if I was to run the stage, I will run faster, physically run faster than this person?
Oh, well, no. Because when you registered for or you checked into the match, that you had to stand on the scale and they recorded your weight
Right.
on that scale, and they tried to make the weight of that platform as easily or as even as possible, and it was the same RO the whole time, and the whole match was for fun, really. I mean, it was a prize match, but nobody was going after a national title or state championship or anything. It was just a really fun match that I loved ending the year on.
Well, like I said, I never did a match whereas I was in a roller coaster before.
No,
So I never done that before, but I was
that was the only one I've ever
looking at a couple local matches, thinking that in this area it will be more matches where you're on like that balancing bridge. When you step on it, it's constantly moving.
Mm-hmm.
But I have yet to do a match here. I think I only done one match here in South Carolina since I started doing competition shooting, and done anything like that. So that's the wildest thing I've ever done on a match. But I think there is one stage coming up in Florida this weekend with a stage like that with the balancing bridge.
Oh, okay. Sandhills has one of those. I don't know if you shot it there. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I think that was the one time I did it, and it was one time. And I can't remember exactly what took place with that stage. I got to go back through the videos and actually see it to jog my memory. But I see it out there every time I go out. It's just sitting there in the open area. So
Yeah.
I decided to use it because I think they was using it for when they was doing 3-gun, and it was one of those props out there. And then of course, hey, let's just use it for USPSA.
So you ever shot from horseback?
I've only been on a horse one time in my life.
So it was another prop stage. It wasn't a real horse. It was a wooden horse hanging on chains, similar to that platform. Mm-hmm. You know how it would swing back and forth, but you're sitting on a wooden horse, and while the horse is moving, you have to shoot from either side of the horse's head and engage, steel poppers and targets and stuff. It was just another silly stage, man. But
the weirdest stage I've ever done was at East Alabama Gun Club there in the Phoenix City, Alabama area, close to Fort Stewart. Whereas it was a Halloween match, and the stage outline was something along the lines of you had shackles like on your hands, around your wrists rather. Okay. And I can't remember if it was one hand or two hands. I think it was probably one hand. No, it started off with two hands. You had to take it off of one hand. One hand stayed chained, but it kind of prevented your movement. But you had to engage it with the chain, and then the way you were standing in the cage, you couldn't fully extend your arm out. because you had to be like on a box or something. Like it was something weird, but it put everybody at a disadvantage. So it wasn't like a shorter person had a distinct advantage over me being taller.
I've seen something like that. I don't know if it was at like the World Shoot maybe a
Yeah,
couple of years ago. There was something everybody was like had.
kind of
I
had
don't
to,
know if it's handcuffs or whatever, but then you had to like manipulate around walls and stuff while you were chained to this short leash. You
yeah.
had to do reloads I don't. It was interesting.
Yeah, so that was like the weirdest one I've done. But once again, I can't remember it clearly. I can tell you clearly I didn't like it.
I've never done one like that. That would be limiting for sure.
Yeah, and the only thing it just frustrated me because it restricted me in a way, whereas it induced stress that I wasn't wanting to have. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that was another thing that I really like about this match. The FIPT is what this used to be. It was stuff that you would never practice.
Right.
Like there's no, you go into this and no one, if you're doing, for instance, if you're working on strong hand weak hand stuff, which is kind of a unique situation for us. You don't do a whole lot of it, but you can go home and practice it. You cannot go home and practice shooting from horseback on this on this wooden horse hanging from chains, or shooting backwards, on a roller coaster that's rolling backwards down this track. It's just, you have to figure it out right there, right then and there. You don't get any time to practice it. It's interesting. This was fun.
The weirdest thing I do in dry fire is, and I only do it just joking around, I don't do it seriously, like 2 or 3 repetitions, going up and down the stairs in my house. So I'll look at like wedge in the door, like the hinge on the door, and I'm aiming at that as I'm coming down the stairs. So if I'm going up the stairs, I'm focused on a spot on the wall or something like that. Just giggles, like something we did in the military, entering, clearing a building.
Yeah, why not? That's I don't know. I've done that before too. Right. It's just working on staying stable, keeping your body low, keeping your sight stable.
Right, that's all it is. Now, another thing I want to talk to you about, and you actually brought it up, nutrition.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, I am not one that is a healthy eater. Now, when you actually see me out in public, I do try to eat healthy because I'm eating outside of the house. But when I'm in the house, I would prefer to cook my meals. But I am not the healthiest eater out there, because I do listen to my body when it's time to eat. But when I get a craving for sugar, oh man, those green gummy frogs.
Those things are really good.
Man, that's my go-to right there. So but you did express that you didn't want to link up with Travis. Talk with Travis about the nutritional efforts when it comes to competition shooting.
I do, and it's I got a couple of reasons behind it, but I just want to do it for myself personally. My wife and I were big into physical fitness for years. When we met, and for first 5 years or so, we were runners. We competed a lot in like 5K races and just different stuff. We did some charity stuff and just a lot. We were runners. We ran a lot. We exercised a lot, and we were in pretty good shape, and we tried to eat well. And for some reason, when we moved back here to Aiken, and we just kind of got out of it, not on purpose. It's just different, I don't know, different situations, and we just kind of got out of it. And I want to do that for myself personally, but at nationals, the third day, like we mentioned a couple episodes ago, that the third day was rough on me. I was fatigued mentally and physically, and I don't want that to happen again. Next year at nationals, I want to be fully prepared. I want to be able to shoot for 2 weeks straight if I had to. I want to be comfortable enough going into it knowing that I can do that. I had the last match I shot in Charleston. We did it it was a Toys for Tots charity match in Charleston last weekend, and I usually bring some snacks with me, some food and stuff to, just to snack on, throughout the day. If I start feeling hungry for whatever reason, I forgot to bring anything with me, and I'm on the last stage. I was walking up to the stage. The squad was finished the previous stage, and I was going over to the next one, and I started feeling kind of lightheaded. Like I wasn't all there. I just started feeling bad because I didn't eat, and the nutrition thing is starting to affect me and cause problems for me and my shooting. And I want to take care of that. I want to straighten that out. And Travis has started offering some personal training with the options of fitness and nutrition is being one of the things that he would like to cover, because he's real big on I think he does a lot of weightlifting, and he's real big on the nutrition kind of side of things. And he has seen where it has helped him with his shooting and life in general.
Right.
But that's something that I want to get more into for the next year, and hopefully take care of that and get in a little better shape, get a little a little healthier. And
one thing I do is when I eat, my eating habits are strange to a lot of people, but I eat smaller portions when I eat, but I eat more meals throughout the day, because I don't believe in just putting a whole bunch of food on a plate, eating it 3 times a day, and I started doing that my second time in Iraq, because the cafeteria was always open and you can eat 24 hours a day if you wanted to. So what I started doing, because we was always on the go, or when we come back, the main line was closed, but you can go in and make a sandwich or whatever. So literally what I would do is I would grab something small, and it just stuck with me ever since I came back. Whereas I'll snack on something here, eat a meal, then I'll snack again a few hours later, and then eat like a smaller meal. And I just do it throughout the day. But at the same time, I do believe in eating a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruits. But a lot of fruits, I don't eat fruits all the time, because when I was younger, my grandmother used to always tell me, eat fruit instead of eating the cookies or the sweets. Right.
Yeah.
So now, of course, when I was in the military, whenever we would do something, because our activity was real physical back then, and you was always on the go, I would eat more fruit. But I remember reading something that somebody became a diabetic from just eating too much fruit. But it's that old saying that too much of anything makes you an addict. So,
well,
so
sure, there's a lot of sugar in fruit still.
yeah. So
It's
you
better
go,
than the green frog sugar, but there's still a lot of sugar in there. If you're going to eat too much of it, you could still get too much sugar.
yeah. So once, like just like anything else, you just have to find out the sweet medium between what you want to do. And of course, when I start working out, I will not eat anything after 8 o'clock, because I believe your system is, when it's digesting, it's literally like it's working your system. But if it's nothing in there, it's not working as hard, versus going to bed on a full stomach, or you just ate a burger or something like that. So I have a different take on nutrition, just like I said last week, whereas you can eat anything you want. You just have to be cognizant of the decisions you make on working out, if that's the route you're going to take. Because if you're not eating healthy and you want to eat a lot of junk food, just understand you have to work out twice as hard versus somebody who is eating healthier and doing the right thing when it comes to nutrition.
I don't know much about it, so I'm hoping to get in touch with Travis after we get through Christmas and things settle down around the house. I'm going to talk with him, and we're going to try to figure out some fitness and nutrition plan. And I'm hoping to really dive into that and spend some more time with that. And I just think in general, it'll help me feel better, and it will in turn help my shooting. And he's a, world champion shooter, so he'll hopefully will be able to kind of approach fitness and nutrition and with keeping shooting in mind, because that's what we're after. That's what our goal is.
Now, what is your normal fitness routine looks like?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that.
Oh, so you don't have
No. So I have, no, I bought an elliptical recently, and my plan has been to get some more time on that. And I have a I don't know what you get, the all-in-one weight bench set.
Was that Solo Flex or?
No, I can't afford that one, but it was some, I don't know. It has a bunch of different, it's like an L-shaped corner unit. It has a bunch of different weights. It's a really cool system. I found it. Somebody on one of Facebook was selling it or something.
Was it a Chuck Norris workout bench? Was it that one? Where it uses like your own body weight to work
No,
out?
this one has weights. It's like a centered weighted system, and you pull the pin in and out, add weight or reduce weight or whatever. But anyway, there has been times where I've been pretty steady with that, and using the weights and doing some cardio stuff. We like I mentioned earlier, when my wife and I used to run a lot, we had a treadmill. We were pretty steady on cardio with the treadmill, and it really got to be too much on my knees, actually. The running, on asphalt, concrete, that kind of thing, it got to be a little, it hurt.
Yeah.
So it was just, that may have led to part of the reason that we kind of got out of it. But the elliptical thing, and hoping, you still do tremendous cardio with that. And I've been starting to try to build up and use it. That is super strenuous, which I kind of like. You don't have to spend an hour on the elliptical to really get some work out there. Gosh, I don't even know if it would be possible for me to stay on that thing for an hour. It's tough.
Well, when it comes to fitness and running, I used to like running hills, not so much running distance, but how hard and how fast you can run up a hill. And I try to find the steepest hill I can find and just run it. And I remember one day I was in somebody's backyard just running up the hill, and the guy came out, "Hey, what are you doing?"
I'm running. Shut up.
I'm just exercising. And he was like, "Oh, well, okay. I was just wondering. Have fun." Didn't tell me to get off the property or anything. I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." But I think he realized what I was doing, because I kept going back and forth up and down the hill. But it was the steepest hill in the neighborhood. But he never ran me off or anything. And I used to go over there like 3 or 4. This was when I was stationed in Georgia. And it'd be like 3 or 4 days a week, especially like when it was time to get ready for a PT test. So, and I would push harder a couple weeks before a PT test. And he never told me to leave him alone or get out of his yard or anything. So as far as running, I mean, I could always run. I just didn't like it as much. But running a hill, I felt that was more rewarding for me. And then also riding a bicycle. I found that to be the better cardio, because now it's really low impact on your knees.
It is, yeah.
And you're actually getting that full body workout in a sense.
I did that too. When I lived in Columbia, they have some really nice mountain bike trails. And I got into mountain biking for a while, and now I really enjoyed that. I was hoping that I could get my wife into that too. And I bought her a bike, and bike's not so good for her. So
oh man,
I don't know. Did you ever run have you ever been to Fort Gordon, the Army base here in Augusta?
I've only been on Fort Gordon one time, and it was the drop off like 3 or 4 soldiers. So once I dropped them off, I just left. I didn't do anything on it.
So we did, for years, we did a 5K every month at Fort Gordon.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of hills there. And the way that they're not barracks, but they have housing on site there. I guess for the officers, where the officers live and whatnot. But we would run around there a lot, and there was a lot of really steep hills, and they would always have some sort of theme for the month, just something to make it fun. You get a T-shirt, and then my son started running with us, and he was probably like 10 years old at the time. But we did they called it a poker run,
Mhm.
and you would have these different stops, and there'd be a couple soldiers out there with these giant playing cards, and you'd pick up a card from them, and as you're running around throughout the 5K, you're picking up these different cards, and you're trying to make the best poker hand by the time you get to the end of the race. And the
Mhm.
winning poker hand wins a prize, or something. And that was kind of neat. As my son and I were running around, we were finishing up like the last mile or so, the soldiers started running with us and like helping my son out with his deck, like seeing what he had, and they were pulling cards out and trying to give him the best hand. So but there was something. We used to run a lot, and that was a good place to do it. It was a lot of fun.
Now, when I got out of the military, I wasn't in the best shape I should have been in because I had a profile where I couldn't do anything, and then certain people was really enforcing the profile. But when I took my last PT test, I actually maxed out the last PT test. But in the same breath, moving forward, as far as working out, when I got out of the military in 2018, that's when I started doing jiu-jitsu every day. So I would go,
That's a workout.
yeah, like, and some of those days, depending on what was going on, like a tournament or something that was coming up, I would do 2 a days. So I would go back to the gym and do another class, you know, and I felt really good doing that, but then when I started getting into firearms full time, now it started taking away from my working out, with the extra traveling and everything like that. Now my eating started getting bad because when you're traveling, okay, you'll see like a Chick-fil-A on the side of the road. Hey, let me just stop and get a sandwich. Not thinking it's going to do any harm for you, but before you know it, you done ate 6 Chick-fil-A sandwiches in one weekend, But
Wow.
like I said, that year when I was doing jiu-jitsu every day, man, I was like in good physical shape. But I don't feel like I was gun ready in that year, even though I was in good physical shape, because whenever you do something, like you got to commit to one thing, right? And if guns was going to be the main topic, jiu-jitsu couldn't be the main thing. So,
No.
but at that point in time, jiu-jitsu was number one for me, guns was number two, and then it flipped roles. And
So
now
yeah.
what I'm doing is I'm actually going back into the gym, and I'm working with the trainer right now to actually build muscle like around my knee and my leg area, so I can get a little bit limber as far as movement, so I can get in and out of positions a little bit easier. And then at the same time, just focus on my core strength, right? Because
It's tremendous for what we
yeah,
do.
yeah. So all your movement is going to be from the core area. So I'm trying to build the core up and leg muscles up, so I can get that fluid movement down pat.
So I totally understand what you're saying. I mentioned I have that home gym thing and elliptical, and I was working with that stuff pretty regularly early on in the year, and or it may even been towards the end of last year, because this year I really started shooting a lot more major matches, and I always felt like I was preparing for the next major match. So when I'd get up in the morning, I spend about an hour and a half or so before work. Previously, I was doing some, working out, doing some cardio stuff, and I'd throw in a little bit of dry fire.
Mm-hmm.
But because I started scheduling myself and shooting a lot more major matches, I always felt like I needed to focus more on the dry fire, on the shooting part of it, and I let the physical fitness part of it kind of go to the wayside, because I was always preparing for a match, and I always wanted to spend more time with the gun in my hand.
Right.
And I'm gonna try to do something little bit different this year. I want to spend some more time on the physical fitness side. Try not to neglect my dry fire, my shooting training, but kind of let it lean more toward the physical side. And I'm planning on probably shooting less major matches this year and kind of try to get my body back, where I'd like for it to be.
Now, let me ask you, do you think somebody who does what we do, if the physical fitness aspect is more important or the gun portion is more important, or do you think it varies between people?
Mm-hmm. I think, well, I think it varies for sure, but I think between people, yes, probably, but I think it also varies between where you are in your shooting, and where you would like to be with your shooting. I think when you're first getting into this, the physical aspect of it is really not important much at all, because you really need to focus on the gun handling, gun manipulation. And if you don't know how to shoot a pistol, I mean, whether you can run 30 miles an hour or not doesn't really matter if you don't know how to aim a gun and pull the trigger straight. So those things really need to be focused on to begin with, I believe. Once you figure out that stuff, then you might want to look at, some more of the physical side of it. But there were some, I don't know, less physically fit people that are still tremendous shooters and have great success in our sport. It's another part of it. It's not, I don't know, it's not so detrimental if you're not super fit athlete that you're going to just be a failure as a shooter. That's not the way it is, but it will help you for sure. But it's just kind of where I'm at right now. It's just kind of what I want to focus on. I'm pretty comfortable with my shooting ability. You can always learn more and you can always get better with shooting.
Right.
No matter what level you are, but it's just the physical fitness part of it, nutrition part of it is kind of something I want to focus on for the upcoming year.
Yeah. One thing that I have noticed, if you look at the people who have won first, second, and third at all these major matches, normally it's roughly the same group of, let's say, 6 to 7 people.
They're in pretty good shape, aren't they?
And they're all in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So, and that just goes to show that being in shape plays as an important role as understanding and actually maneuvering the firearm, right? Which entails nutrition. So it balances off of each other in a sense of speaking.
Yeah, it's something that I've been neglecting, and it not intentionally. Really, I was just thinking about it the other day, and I was like, "Why have I gotten out of the physical part of it so much?" It's because of, I really didn't do it on purpose, but I felt like my time that I had set aside for practice and exercise and that sort of thing, I felt like it was more important for me to focus on the gun handling and getting prepared for the next match, because I always had a major match coming up. I was shooting so many of them. And, I'm just going to make some changes and for next year and do something a little different. And with that being said, I shot a lot more major matches this year than I ever have. And I feel like I learned more this year than I ever have.
Okay.
Hey, this is Brian Conley with Hunters HD Gold, and you are listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast.
What's up, good people? Thank you for taking the time and listening to the M-W Tactical Podcast. Please go visit the M-W Tactical store at www.m-wtactical.com/store and help support our efforts by purchasing a shirt or two. If you haven't done so, go follow us on Instagram and Facebook by searching for M-W Tactical.
The Gun Cleaners.
Our solvent is, I think, second to none. Our lube is second to none. Our lube's heavier than water, which is just a huge thing. People don't really put a lot of thought into that, just how huge that is to have on your gun, especially with concealed carry.
The Gun Cleaners.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
You know, you're going to sweat a lot of the other lubes off. With ours, it'll stay there.
The Gun Cleaners.
And maintaining the quality of the process, the quality of the end result is another, and you guys are able to do both with the process that you have there.
Order your supply of the lube and the solvent at www.theguncleaners.com.
I'm Jason Pratt, Masterclass USPSA shooter, owner of Brass Monkey Bullets. If you're interested in competition bullets, visit www.brassmonkeybulletsllc.com or call me at 423-967-1063. For more information, my email is brassmonkeybulletsllc@gmail.com. Thank you.
So now, by you shooting more major matches, and like I said, for me, this year alone, I've shot, this will be like the 7th major match I shot this year.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So like, I don't know the difference because last year I was only doing local matches, and I think I did Battle at the Beach last year. That was the only major match I'd done in North Carolina. You know, whatever was close, that's the only thing I'd done last year. But this year, like I said, this will be 7. I'm going into it. You actually keep a journal. I actually got the journal, but what's your experience with the journal, and how do you feel it's helping you?
So here's the journal for YouTube guys. It's the mental management journal, or performance analysis is actually what's on the cover here, but it's what we got through Steve Anderson's mental management course that we took earlier in the year. And I think I mentioned it maybe last season or something, but my wife picks on me about it. She calls it my diary.
Yeah.
And you know, and I don't care, whatever. It's not a diary, but she wants to call it, that's fine. I'm a better shooter than she is, so I don't care.
So I ended up getting the journal as well. I was about to call it the diary.
Don't do that. It does make it sound bad.
So I ended up getting the journal as well. And when I first got it, I was logging in everything. So the date the firearm was purchased, whenever I did something different to the firearm, I was making date and notes to it. I do believe that helps, because in the event you forget what pound recoil spring that you actually used and you was already weighing 2 different ones, is written down for you. So that helps you out. I'm a firm believer in that. And I have been doing that ever since I'll make a change. I hit that journal and I write it down. I jot it down every time. But when it comes to shooting matches, I think I probably got in the journal. It's less than 10 matches, if it is 10. But I think when I was writing in the journal, the next time I went to go shoot, I was focusing more on the mishaps I had from the previous match, carrying it over to the new match. So I stopped writing in the journal, and now I started talking more about what was taking place.
I don't know if I can see it.
Yeah, I can see
or
it.
if you can see it.
Yeah.
So this is all the entries that I have from since we took the class. I don't know how many that is, 20 or so.
Way more than me.
And I understand where you're coming from with that. I totally do. I have found great use from this journal, but I have also struggled with the same kind of things if I have a bad match. So you really need to take Steve Anderson's course, and he's actually offering them online now, mental management. And it's not just for the shooting sports. It can really benefit you throughout your whole life, and whatever is important to you. This mental management course that he teaches can help you, but we're using it for improving our shooting. And if I have really struggled occasionally with that same thing that you mentioned, having positive information to write in there. And that's the whole point of the journal, to be positive the entire time. You get so much negativity just from talking to people at matches. In life in general, man. I don't know. People seem to want to be negative about everything lately, but the point of it is having positivity in this book, so you can go back and look at it. And when you had a good match, when you did something well, it's in there, it's documented, so you can go look and see what you did at this point in time, at this match, at this stage, whatever it is, what went well, what you were thinking about, what you did to help the stage go well. And then it reminds you of your where you were at that point in time. And hopefully you can go back and remind yourself, this is what I did. This is what I need to keep doing, because this worked for me at the previous match. This is what I need to keep doing, and making notes of that kind of thing. But I have struggled with that same thing too. If I come back from a match that I haven't been happy with, like at nationals, I was not happy with my performance. I did not write down my national performance in the journal for like 3 weeks after I got back from nationals. Normally after a match, the next day or two, I'll go into the journal and I'll record my information and write down what took place. But I was just so disappointed in myself and my performance on that third day at nationals. I didn't know what to write, because that was all I could think about.
Right.
was the negativity. And that doesn't go in the journal. That doesn't go into books. So I was like, well, I can't write in it right now, because that's all I can think about. So I stayed away from the journal.
Right.
and I continued to think about what took place. And I just really had to process some things more, thoughts more, and think about things more until, I found the positive aspects of what happened at the national championship. And I was able to, just mentally, be a little more relaxed and calm about it, and actually go and write down the good things that happened, the good stuff that took place there, stuff that needs to go in the journal to remind me, to help me learn, from what happened in a positive way. And that's important. Positivity in the journal.
Yeah, I think I get the same feedback when I look at my videos. But of course, when I'm looking at my videos, if I'm doing something right, I'll give myself the accolades. Okay, this was great. But then if I'm not doing so well and it's okay or needs improvement, now I'm sitting there beating myself up. Oh, I could have done this. I could have done that differently. Just like that one video that I showed you, whereas I stated I shouldn't have went all the way into the corner, but because I was trapped in the moment, I naturally went all the way to the corner when I should have stopped and looked, saw the targets. And then when I faded back over, it put me in line with the other targets I should have shot versus taking that extra step. Wasted energy. That's how I looked at it.
But look, Travis mentioned that. I listened to the podcast with Travis's interview, and he mentioned the same thing. And this is what needs to go in the journal. You realize that,
right?
Looking at your video and thinking about how you shot that stage. That's the positive aspects of that particular scenario. That you saw a room for improvement right there, and what you need to do next time.
Correct.
That's sometimes it's hard for me to think that way too, because you think initially, oh god, dog, I screwed up, I should have done this.
Right.
But stepping back, looking at it, and just looking at the exact same video from a different viewpoint is that was not the way I needed to do it. But now I know what I need to do in similar situations.
Right. And it was just like when we had a conversation on the range one day. We was talking about stage planning, and I can't remember who we was talking with. And the person actually looked at me and stated that I have gotten way better with stage planning. And pretty much what I said was I'm running every option through my mind, and I narrow it down to like the best 2 to 3 options I want to do within my capability of running.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because Dave doing it this way, I might do 1 or 2 things that Dave is doing exactly the same, but everything else is different because of my ability compared to his ability. And of
Sure.
course, when you run a stage, how fast you can pull the trigger is going to make that determination of how you're going to move.
Well, we're shooting different divisions too, and there's a lot to consider. And I'm always hesitant to help people actually with stage plans.
Right. So
just because of that.
Yeah. But I'm more like, okay, cool. Like when you turn around and you look at it, the more time you put into something, the better it's going to be.
Sure.
But I was beating myself up for the longest when it comes to stage planning. But the one thing that actually made sense to me when I sat down and I thought about it pretty much was, how can I run this stage? Because not everybody on the stage we're looking at right now has a bullet in their back. Not everybody, had the head concussion from an explosion over in Iraq. Not everybody has the secret stash of green frogs in their range bag.
Nope.
So
that's where everybody's lacking.
Yeah. So when I looked at it from that standpoint, now I made whatever works at that moment for me. And I literally sat down, and it was at a CSRA match when I made this determination. If it was a fight right now, no 2 people want to fight the same. You have to complement that fight on your strengths, not your weakness.
What you've trained in, what you're good at, and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. So for me, throwing an uppercut with my left hand, I know that's more powerful than leaning in, exposing my jaw with an uppercut with the right hand. Why would I keep doing it with the right hand if somebody else has kept doing it with the right hand? doesn't add up. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I believe stage planning for me just took off. But looking back at the shooting aspect and everything, and of course when you're doing the stage planning, I'm looking at it from the standpoint, okay, this complements me, let me do XYZ, I can do this, right? But then of course, what do they always say? You make the plan, but when the buzzer go off, something else happens. So if you're already debating against yourself on a stage plan, if you didn't run it through your mind a couple times over, just like when we did the Toys for Tots match, after I did a reload, there was one point where it looked like I hit the brakes real hard. And when I did that, when I looked at the target, when I hit the brakes, I thought that was a target that I didn't shoot from that one position you had to shoot at. But then it realized like, oh, well, no, you already shot the one that you couldn't see, but this is one you got to shoot now. So it kind of messed me up in that respect. But
well, it happens.
Yeah, it does. But going into the journal, I do believe the journal is a positive factor that will help you with shooting. I also believe the journal it has its pros and it has its cons, the devil's advocate, as we're going to say. Just like you said in a past interview, like the camera was a distraction for you at first until you got used to it off of your ability getting better. I believe that's how the journal is. So once, I believe now, if I was to go into the journal and start writing more entries, I will feel more comfortable with it because of the fact I can analyze myself better than I could a few months ago.
I've been wanting to actually get in touch with Steve Anderson and ask him about that, or not about that, what you said, but about when I come back from a match not feeling like I have any positive things to record in the journal, immediately. if there's something, if there's another way to think about it, or another way to approach that, or how should I approach that? And the way I've been approaching it now is not writing in it, because I do know that the goal is not just to be full of positive information. So if I don't have positive information to write in there, I just don't write anything
Well, you
until
also
I feel like I can.
yeah, well, you also got to remember a negative can be a positive, because I believe when you fail, failing is nothing more than an avenue of learning. It's a learning
Oh,
moment,
sure. Yeah.
So of course you do something, oh, well, not to do that again, or
Hmm.
you know how
Yeah.
to make it better or how to approach it in a systematic measure, you know. So,
So I don't.
yeah. So even when you sit there and you look at it, okay, you didn't do something so well, but you can at least find three things you did right within a mistake,
Yeah.
because
There's
yeah,
yeah.
it's not going to be like one flowing mishap. It's going to
No.
be,
There's always some good things that you've done.
yeah. So it's just a bad decision you made, but the actions associated with it, you can actually pull out the good in it.
I think with the Nationals, man, I don't know. It's such an important match for me, and I was really expecting to do better than I did. I was just
I didn't when
too hard on myself, I believe, and it weighed on me for a while before I started being just comfortable with what happened.
when I went into nationals, I didn't know what to expect, but I do know I put way too much stress on myself, before even stepping foot in Florida, driving to nationals, right? It started here in Columbia, South Carolina, whereas looking at everything and over analyzing, and now, like, why did I make changes to my sights? I haven't done it all year, but I did it for this one match. Why? you know, so it is what it is. But like I said, it's a learning lesson.
Yeah, definitely is.
But guess what I did last week?
Re-zero your sights.
Yep, took it out. I think I took it out to 75 yards. I mean 75 feet, which is 25 yards, and actually felt very comfortable with how I shot it. So I'm not changing the sights no more for the rest of the year.
Good.
It's gonna stay like that until after
I
nationals.
I had to change my sight recently because my red dot quit working
Right.
at CSRA Shooters.
Mhm.
Probably the worst stage possible. But
No, that's not good. Was
that was,
it beforehand? You thought it was just a battery, but it was actually.
I thought about it, because I was seeing it flicker like during dry fire.
Hmm.
When I'd throw a reload and I'd come back up on target, the dot would be gone. And then I'd tap it and it would come back on. So I thought, well, maybe it's a battery. So I changed the battery and it would work for a couple of days, and then it would start flickering again. And then while I was experiencing this in dry fire, I shot a couple matches and I didn't have any problems with it. Like I didn't notice any flickering or anything like that. So I didn't think a whole lot about it until CSRA Shooters last match. It just stopped after the second target. It went away, and then I was left with 15-yard partial targets and 15-yard swingers, and, and I was just like shooting at the target and pointing in the general area.
Oh man,
it didn't go very well, but
yeah. Oh man, that sucks. So are you going to get the same exact sight, or do they make that anymore? Or
yeah, so I had another one. I actually have 3 of them. So, but I took that one off. I sent it back. It's going to get new electronics in it, and I put another one on and re-zeroed it, and I'm good now. But yeah, that's an electronic sight on a handgun. That stuff just happens.
Yeah, the constant vibration, going back and forth, and especially moving hard and fast as it's moving, it's going to take its wear and tear.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, so but I'm actually looking forward to head down to Florida this weekend and see what actually transpires from this match. Once again, I'm not going into the match with any expectations. I'm just going to shoot, have fun, and see where I place. And I'm hoping it's a little bit better than I did at Area 6, and I think I did fairly well at Area 6, meaning that there was higher caliber shooters there at Area 6. And for me to even still come in at the 58 percentile, I felt that was an accomplishment for me.
That is good. We shoot around in this area with really some of the best shooters in the country. I mean, our area matches are pretty well stacked like the national championship a lot of the time. I mean, you're shooting with the same guys that are going to be winning the nationals,
Right.
or up in the top 5 of the nationals. They're all around here in Area 5, Area 6. Most, for the most part.
Yeah.
We have some competition around here for sure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And another thing I like to do is I like to shoot with the older generation of shooters. Even though a lot of people discard the older generation, they have so much knowledge to pass down. And even when you look at somebody,
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
it's like you could pick up so much just by looking at them. But a lot of people they just discard them. And I was like, nope, that's knowledge right there to be
Oh yeah.
gained and held on.
Absolutely. They've been around it for years. They know. They've tried it. They know what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, East Alabama Gun Club, that is there in the Phoenix City, Alabama area, close to Fort Benning. They're having an RO class 9 through 10 January. And I encourage everybody in that area, if you're listening in that area, or help pass the word that they're doing this at East Alabama Gun Club as an RO class from 9 to 10 January. I believe in order for the sport to continue, you need more people to understand the rules and make it happen. Just don't show up at a match and you can learn the rules that way, but actually get the certification to tag so you can better speak it, so you get, versatile with the language of the sport. Because we already know if you go to a match here in South Carolina and then go to that match, a USPSA match in North Dakota, the rules are still going to be the same. There's no variant, no swinging in between the lines or anything. The rules are just what they are. But
that's USPSA, and that's one of the things that's great about our organization. You know what to expect no matter where you go in the country.
Mm-hmm. So if anybody is interested in this RO class at East Alabama Gun Club, contact Allie Howe at films@tds.net. That's films, FILMS, at Tango Delta Sierra.net. And her name is Allie Howe. RO class from 9 through 10 January, taking place at East Alabama Gun Club. So I had fun when I went to my RO class. I went to 2 RO classes within a year, and I felt confident coming out of the first RO class. It's just, I don't feel like I retained as much information because I almost felt overwhelmed because I was focusing on stuff that happened to me at matches versus the information that was being delivered. So I went January one year, and then the following year, which was last year, when they did it in Charleston, South Carolina. And I went to that one also. So, and that second one I went to, it just opened my mind a little bit more when it came to shooting.
So yeah, it helps you as a shooter, if nothing else. It
yeah.
helps you, understand the rules better and gives you more options for stage planning. And, if you get occasionally, somebody can make a bad call on a shot or something, and the rules well enough to where you can say, hey, that's, within the rule set or whatever. Yeah, it helps you all around as a shooter. And, then you can help them get back to the sport and, help as a range official.
So, like I said, I'm all for it. And either way you look at it, in order for the sport to continue, but I do believe what's going to end up taking place, and it might not be before we finish shooting the sport, but I do believe when the sport continues, what's going to end up taking place when you go to a match, it's going to be one of those events whereas the officials are getting paid to do it, even though it's volunteer right now. I foresee that coming.
That's the IPSC style, I think.
Oh, they actually get paid?
Believe, yeah, the major IPSC matches. I think you have officials that are they're there to run, matches and reset stages. The shooters are not allowed to touch anything.
Oh wow! I never shot an IPSC match, so that'd be something. And I heard people talk about it, whereas some of the rules in regards to it, like when you leave out of the shooting area, like you can't leave and get to another position and shoot from a different position. If you leave the shooting area, you got to come back into the shooting area from that same point or something.
Yeah, yeah. You don't have as much freedom to run out of the shooting area as we do in USPSA. There's a little bit different rules. They're very similar, but
right.
Some are a little different.
Yeah. And like I said, overall, just the competition aspect, I love it. I love it. But only way you get better at it is by doing it and reading the rules.
Yep.
I was going to go. Yeah. So this week, I don't think we're going to have an interview, a guest speaker coming in, but we're going to pick it up next week, just only because of the fact we got to get ready to go down to Florida to shoot the section down there. But do you have any more videos you want to share?
I do, yeah. Just because we're talking about the Florida match, and
here we go.
this was one. This was one from a few years ago, but it was just another one that was a lot of fun. So you had to the stage is set up with phone booths that you had to. That was your shooting area. There were like 4 or 5 different phone booths set up on the stage, and that was where you had to shoot from. And most of the windows of the phone booth were closed. You had to grab a phone off the side of the phone booth and pull the phone, and the cord from the phone dropped down or made the window drop down so where you can engage targets. And you had to wear a Superman cape while you're doing this. And so I was trying to run as fast as I could between the phone booths so the cape would stand out and was fly back behind me. It was just a silly stage, and it was a lot of fun to shoot it. I'm gonna share that.
Yeah, I think we did a stage at Mid Carolina, but it was like a cash register stage, whereas you had to open the cash register and the gun was there. Yeah,
that awesome Superman cape.
It looks like a great Halloween outfit.
There's the phone booth. Oh, that one was actually open, but a couple of them were open. We had to grab the phone on that one. Open the window. I don't know. This stuff's silly, but it's a lot of fun.
Now, did this phone activate anything?
Yeah, that one did. Activated the swinger.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. That was just one I wanted to share. It's so fun.
Yeah. For those of you who are listening on the actual audio podcast, if you head on over to the M-W Tactical YouTube page, and you can see this video, whereas Dave is looking like somebody's uncle out there with his cape on, running around answering phones with a gun in his hand.
Now I'm Superman. What you're talking about? Somebody's uncle.
That's Super Dave.
Super Dave. Yep.
That's it right there. So when you did that match, what year was that?
2017.
Oh, okay.
So that was a few years ago.
Yeah. So now I want to say when I did my first couple matches, like back in the 2015 area moving forward, I'm starting to see less props like that, and
well, that yeah, which is that was a special match.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure y'all had like a lot of great laughs about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was, and that's one of the reasons I like that match a lot. It's silly.
Right.
That stuff doesn't really have a place in like any kind of championships or whatever, but it's fun. And that's what the match was meant to be. It was just meant to be fun.
Now, I was wondering off of that match alone, because of where the phone was situated, and you notice how you kind of put the phone up in the corner when you answered the phone to activate the
Or my gun, I stuck my gun up in the corner so I wouldn't accidentally sweep myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, how many people didn't do that?
At least there was one person on our squad that did
Yeah.
swept herself doing that.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing with the props also, whereas it can be looked at as a negative because now when people start doing the comparison, well, this
Sure.
right here is a trap, or however they say it.
It's
but-
it's not a shooting challenge when you're doing stuff like that. And I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But that match was always meant to be silly with crazy props, and I always knew that going into the match. And I didn't care. I liked it. It was fun.
Hey, that's it right there. So I think what's going to take place next week, we're going to bring back the interview portion of the M-W Tactical Podcast because, like we said beforehand, we had to get ready to head down to Florida this week. So it's just going to be me and the mad scientist sitting right here talking, and everybody listens to the commercial breaks in between the conversation pieces. But I am trying to get Coach B onto an interview.
What?
Yes, dealing with Coach B and her schedule is mainly like dealing with an A-list celebrity. Man, I gotta jump through loops to try to get a microphone in her.
Got to talk to her people.
Yeah, I gotta talk to her people to talk to my people to make this work. So we're gonna get her on here one of these weeks, but we have a lineup of other people also within the shooting community that we want to bring on. Also, here within the next upcoming weeks, we're going to bring Nancy Grunnett back onto the show. And for those of you who listened to season 2, she was on the show speaking about her perspective of shooting. She actually does competition shooting, and she widened her horizons within competition shooting as well. So I want to bring her on and check out her podcast also. And I always butcher the name, so I'm gonna let Dave say it so I won't butcher it.
What is that?
No, see,
The name of their podcast?
yes, it's Sunday
Morning Training Group.
Yeah. See, I was always saying Sunday morning brunch group.
Well, that sounds good too.
Yeah, but
Sunday morning brunch is great.
And when somebody had asked me about it, that's what I said. But then I had to think about it, and I hurry up and looked it up, and I was like, no, it's actually this. And he was like, oh, okay. Well, I was about to look at the wrong thing. I was like, yeah, my bad. So Sunday morning
training group.
Yeah, there we go. So go check out Nancy, Stephanie, and Travis Pew Crane, and they're the actual 3 hosts of that podcast.
So they've actually invited me to be on the episode after we get back from the Florida section championship.
Nice. So we definitely got to check that one out.
So maybe I'll be on there.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Definitely got to check it out. Hopefully Travis ain't giving you a hard time on the mic.
Oh, I'm sure he will.
That's what it is. But we're actually going to go ahead and get all three of them onto the show, not at the same time, but it's going to be separate points so we can actually get all their perspective from the shooting of what they're doing. Because as we stated beforehand, Nancy was shooting limited, and then she went through 2 different guns within the last 6 months, and then she went to a different division altogether. So I'm not going to ruin it by telling you what's up. You have to come back to the podcast and actually listen to the interview portion of that. Whereas Stephanie did the same thing, but the division that she went into, I think if she had her choice at the beginning between the 2, she would have went to the division she's currently in now. And then our buddy Travis, he is just sticking with revolvers and don't want to come back to limited. So we're going to work on that. So I think Green Frogs might help him convert over to.
Oh, they might. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, man, just got to squad up with them and be like, yo, to the range bag. What'd you sign up for? No, go change it. Green Frogs. All right. So you have anything else you want to close out the show with?
Once again, the Toys for Tots match that I just shot at Palmetto Gun Club. Chad Bennett's the new match director there, and it was actually the first match of the year and the last match of the year, just because of the time frame. Took place in December, but he's planning on continuing that in 2021. So they're in Charleston, South Carolina. We're 5 fun stages, man. We raised some more money for the Marine Corps Toys for Tots charity there. That's and awesome. Had a great time shooting at Palmetto Gun Club. So next year, go check out his matches.
Yeah, that's always good to raise more money and toys for the kids. So,
oh yeah, definitely.
But let me ask you this: do you think Palmetto Gun Club is able to house a state match or an area match?
They definitely are. We've had the state match there several times before. Yeah. They actually, I'm probably wrong on this, but I think over the last 2 years, they put like $85,000 into berm and bay reconstruction and in the range there. I may be wrong, but it's several $1,000s. And this was the first time that I've been back since they've done all that work.
Right.
And I actually shot a state match there a few years ago. And then they did a lot of reconstruction work, and the bays look great. Their grass is starting to grow in the bottom of the bottom of the bays. It's looking good. It's really good. They've got a nice facility there. They have other stuff there too. They have I want to say it's like an 800-yard rifle bay, and they've got a lot of other stuff there. It's a big range, good facility.
Yeah. I went out there one time this year. Was it last year? It was right after the construction was finished. Mm-hmm. But then it seemed like when it was raining all the time, the match would always cancel because of the rain.
It's mud, yeah.
And
it was getting muddy.
Yeah, they didn't want to risk anybody getting hurt, twisting an ankle or anything like that. So they actually stopped shooting matches out there for a while, but I'm glad to hear that Chad is picking it back up.
Yeah, man. It actually rained the day before the match, and
it absorbed pretty well.
It wasn't near as muddy as sharpshooters get, so it was a little bit soft and squishy in places, but it was fine.
So the drainage is good out there.
Yeah, it's improved a lot.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. All right, so let's go ahead and fade on out and get on the road here shortly. Well, we'll be coming back from this trip by the time this is being played, but
yeah,
we got to go ahead and finish packing it up and head on down there to Florida, shoot this match, and then we'll come back and tell you what actually took place with us at the match. And then, of course, check out the videos that we're going to put up on the Instagram and Facebook pages as well.
This one will be fun.
Oh, yeah. So without further ado, please stay in your seats and here are a few words from our sponsors.
Are you in the market to purchase your first or next firearm, but find the atmosphere of a gun store intimidating, crowded, or uninviting? There's a way for you to purchase the gun you want while avoiding the crowds, the gruff salesmen, and the marked up prices that come with a brick and mortar gun store. The process is called a transfer, where the purchase is made at an online store and sent to a federally licensed middleman called an FFL, who processes the paperwork and background check for a firearm purchase. CAE Transfers is the FFL with the lowest transfer cost in the Midlands at only $20 or $15 with the presentation of a South Carolina concealed weapons permit and $10 for repeat customers. If you live in Columbia, South Carolina or its surrounding areas, choose CAE Transfers as your FFL during checkout and let me help you complete your online gun purchase. You can find and follow CAE Transfers online at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram using @CAE Transfers. Thank you for your business, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Hey, this is Brian Conley at Hunters HD Gold. If you've never tried Hunters HD Gold, then I challenge you to find me at a match next year. Go to the website under scheduled events, find out where I'm going to be. Come meet me in person and demo a pair for yourself. Find out why shooters across the United States are changing to Hunters HD Gold to get 43% more light to their eyes, better contrast, eyes that are not fatigued at the end of the day based on the colors that we use, and find out the real meaning of why they change so you don't have to. So check us out on our website, huntershdgold.com, and I look forward to seeing you at the range soon.
The Gun Cleaners.
Our solvent is, I think, second to none. Our lube is second to none. Our lube's heavier than water, which is just a huge thing. People don't really put a lot of thought into that, just how huge that is to have on your gun, especially with concealed carry.
The Gun Cleaners.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
You know, you're going to sweat a lot of the other lubes off. With ours, it'll stay there.
The Gun Cleaners.
And maintaining the quality of the process, the quality of the end result is another, and you guys are able to do both with the process that you have there.
Order your supply of the lube and the solvent at www.theguncleaners.com.
Thank you for taking the time to hang out with us on the M-W Tactical Podcast. Remember, a new podcast comes out every Tuesday. If you can't wait for Tuesday, go listen to past episodes to catch up on what you missed. Make sure you visit www.m-wtactical.com and see what all is offered on the site, where you can even purchase M-W Tactical apparel. But please, go to our Facebook and Instagram page and follow us on our journey in the sport of competition shooting and the realm of the 2A community. Until next week, keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun.